family says blood is thicker than water. Full quote is about chosen family, and that's what I chose fast. My aunt slaps her palm down on my kitchen table so hard the salt shaker jumps, and she says it like it's a law carved into stone, like she's about to win this argument by invoking something ancient. Blood is thicker than water. My cousin Ray nods beside her, jaw tight, eyes flicking to the folder in front of me like it's a loaded weapon. My mom is standing near the sink, arms folded, lips pressed into a thin line, and my brother is leaning in the doorway with his hoodie up like he's here for entertainment, not because he cares. My chest feels too tight for the amount of air in the room. I can hear my own heartbeat louder than the fridge hum. I keep my fingers flat on the paper so they don't shake, but I can feel them trembling anyway, because the folder isn't a folder. It's a set of forms. Power of attorney. Temporary guardianship. A line that says I'll be responsible financially and otherwise. And they all came here, into my house, on a Saturday, like they were staging an intervention, except the addiction they're trying to cure is my refusal to be their emergency exit anymore. I push the folder back a few inches like it burns. No, I say, and my voice comes out steady in a way that surprises me. I'm not signing anything. My aunt's face twists immediately, like I just spit on the floor. Don't you start, she snaps. You've always been dramatic. Ray's hand lifts, half reaching for the folder, and I pull it closer to me out of instinct. Not to keep it, but to keep him from touching it like he has a right. My mom finally speaks, quiet but sharp. You're really going to do this today? She says. After everything? My brother lets out a little laugh, low and ugly. She thinks she's too good now, he mutters. My stomach drops because I recognize the pattern. The minute I say no, they don't ask why. They don't negotiate. They attack my character. They make me the problem, so they don't have to look at what they're asking. My aunt points at me over the table. You know what your problem is? She says, voice rising. You've got those friends of yours whispering in your ear. You've forgotten your own family. She leans closer, and I can smell her perfume and stale coffee. Blood is thicker than water. You don't get to choose strangers over us. It was a Tuesday night 15 years ago when I learned that in my family blood didn't mean love, it meant access. It meant entitlement. It meant you existed to fill whatever hole someone else had, even if it swallowed you whole. I was 17, sitting on my bedroom floor with my back against the bed, listening to my parents fight in the kitchen. Not normal bickering. Not who forgot to pay the bill. I mean the kind of fight where you can hear things breaking and then the silence after when you're waiting to see if the breaking was just plates or something worse. My mom's voice was high and cutting. My dad's voice was low and dangerous. And then my brother's voice, older than mine, smug and cruel, chiming in like it was a sport. Nobody came to check on me. Nobody asked if I was scared. Later, when the house finally went quiet, my aunt called and said, "You need to be strong. That's your mother. That's your father. That's your family." Like strength meant swallowing everything and smiling through it. Like survival was the same thing as loyalty. For most of my childhood, my role was simple. Keep the peace. Read the room before anyone else. Smooth things over. Don't make needs. Don't ask for help. If my mom was angry, I was supposed to be understanding. If my dad was in a mood, I was supposed to stay invisible. If my brother wanted something, I was supposed to give it because he's your brother and boys are different and don't start trouble. I learned to apologize for things I didn't do because it ended fights faster. I learned to make myself small in group photos, to laugh at jokes that weren't funny, to accept that's just how he is as a reason for any behavior. And every time I pushed back even a little, the same line came out like a threat dressed as wisdom. Blood is thicker than water. By the time I left home at 19, I had already been called selfish so many times that it felt like my name. I didn't leave in a heroic blaze. I left in a slow leak. I saved money in a jar behind my dresser. I hid my important documents inside an old textbook. I told my best friend, Mina, the truth in fragments because saying it all at once felt like betraying my own life. The night I finally packed a bag, my mom stood in the hallway and hissed, "If you walk out that door, don't come back." My dad didn't even look up from the TV. My brother smiled at me like he couldn't wait to see me fail. I walked out anyway, and my legs shook so badly I thought I'd collapse on the front steps. Mina picked me up in her little car that smelled like laundry detergent, and her mom didn't ask questions. She just handed me a blanket and said, "You're safe here." That sentence made me cry so hard I had to bite my hand to keep from making noise. Mina and her family weren't perfect. They were loud. They argued. They had rules. But the rules made sense. They didn't change depending on someone's mood. When Mina's mom got mad, she didn't threaten to throw Mina out. When Mina's dad had a bad day, he didn't make it everyone else's problem. They ate dinner together at the table and asked each other questions and listened to the answers. The first time Mina's mom asked me what I wanted, what movie I liked, what food I hated, what I wanted to study, I froze because I wasn't used to anyone caring about my preferences. I kept waiting for the catch. I kept waiting for them to use my needs against me. But it never came. Instead, Mina's mom drove me to apply for college, and Mina's dad taught me how to change a tire, and Mina herself sat with me at 2 in the morning while I tried to untangle my guilt like it was a knot inside my ribs. That was the beginning of my chosen family, and it happened so quietly that my real family never saw it until it was too late to stop. My bio family did what they always do when they realize you might actually leave. They try to pull me back with obligation. First it was small, calls from my aunt about how my mom missed me but couldn't say it because she was proud. Then it was bigger, my brother needing money because he messed up. My dad needing help with something because you're the responsible one. My mom needing someone to watch the house because who else is there? Every request came wrapped in guilt and history, like they were billing me for being born. And for a while I paid. I sent money when I couldn't afford it. I showed up to family events and smiled like I wasn't bracing for impact. I answered calls at midnight because I was scared that if I didn't, something terrible would happen and it would be my fault. The more stable my life got, the more they treated my stability like a resource they could tap. The first time I said a real no was when my brother asked me to co-sign a loan. He was 25, already had a record of forgetting bills, and he sat in a diner booth across from me, tapping his fingers like I was taking too long to agree. "It's just a signature," he said, smirking. "You're the one with good credit. Blood is thicker than water, right?" I remember staring at the sugar packets and feeling my stomach twist. Mina was texting me under the table, just one line, "Don't do it. You know what happens." And for once I listened. I said no. My brother's face changed instantly, like the mask dropped. He called me a selfish snake. He said I thought I was better than everyone. He told my mom I refused to help family, and she cried on the phone, not because she was worried about me, but because my brother was angry. That's when I started to see the shape of it clearly. Love in my family was conditional. It was a contract, and I was only valued when I was useful. Over the years, I built a life anyway. I finished school. I got a decent job. I married a man named Daniel who had the weird ability to stay calm without being cold, who didn't confuse yelling with honesty. He met Mina at our wedding before he met half my relatives, because Mina was the person who held my hand through the parts of my life my relatives pretended didn't happen. Daniel became part of my chosen family without trying. He brought Mina's soup when she was sick. He remembered her favorite candy. He fixed her car door when it wouldn't close. He never once asked, "But don't you feel bad?" when I pulled away from my family. He just said, "What do you need to feel safe?" Like that was a standard, not a luxury. The last time I spoke to my dad, really spoke, not just exchanged stiff words at a funeral, was 5 years ago. He called me out of nowhere and said, "Your mother's having a hard time," in the same tone you'd used to say the dishwasher broke. I asked what he meant, and he said, "She's stressed, and it's because you're not around." No hello. No how are you. Just blame. I remember sitting on my couch, staring at the wall, feeling my shoulders climb toward my ears. "You can't put that on me," I said quietly. He laughed. "Who else am I supposed to put it on?" he said. "You left." And then, like he was throwing out a fishing line, he added, "Come by this weekend. We'll talk. Bring your husband. Let's be a family again." I almost fell for it. A small part of me always wanted the version where my dad meant it. Then he finished with, "And your brother needs help with something? He'll tell you." And the fog cleared. It was never about being a family. It was about access. It was about using my stability to patch their chaos. So I stopped going. I stopped answering calls that felt like traps. I muted the family group chat. I started spending holidays with Mina's family and Daniel's sister, and the friends who brought food when someone was sick, who showed up to celebrate without demanding payment. It wasn't a dramatic decision. It was just a choice to breathe, which brings me back to my kitchen, to my aunt's hand on my table and that folder in front of me. I didn't forget my family, I say, and my voice is steady, even though my skin feels too tight. I remember what you did. I remembered what you asked of me. I remembered what it cost. My aunt's eyes narrow. What are you talking about? Ray finally speaks, trying to sound reasonable. Look, nobody's saying the past was perfect, he says, like that's not the understatement of the century. But Mom needs someone, and you're the only one who can. No, I cut in. That's not true. You can. My brother can. My dad can. My brother snorts from the doorway. I have a job, he says, like that ends the conversation. So do I say, looking straight at him. And I have a life I built without any of you helping. My mom's face tightens. We helped you, she says, and there's a wildness in her eyes that makes me feel like I'm talking to someone who needs her version of reality to be true. We raised you. You raised me to be useful, I say quietly. Not loved. The words hit like a slap. My mom flinches. My aunt gasps like I cursed. Ray looks at the floor. My brother rolls his eyes. Here we go, he mutters. Victim speech. I take a slow breath because I can feel myself getting pulled into the old dance. Defend, explain, apologize. I don't want to do it. I won't do it. Why are you here? I ask instead, tapping the folder once. Tell me exactly what this is. My aunt's face goes hard. Your mother is exhausted, she says. Your father's not well. Your brother has his own problems. Somebody needs to step up. There it is. The unspoken translation. Dad is failing. Mom is overwhelmed. Brother is unreliable. I am a solution. I'm a spare adult they keep on a shelf. Step up. I repeat, and I can feel something dark and tired inside me. You mean take over? Ray tries again. It's temporary, he says. Just until things settle. I look at the paper. Temporary guardianship. Financial responsibility. Authority to make decisions. The kind of paperwork you don't hand to someone you respect. The kind of paperwork you hand to the person you plan to blame when it all goes wrong. Temporary, I say. Like the last temporary thing I did. Like the time I temporarily paid your rent and then you yelled at me when I stopped. Like the time I temporarily loaned my brother money and then got called selfish when I asked for it back. My aunt leans forward, voice sharp. That's not the same. It is, I say. It's always the same. My mom's voice rises now, thin with anger. So you're just going to abandon us, she says. After everything we've been through. After everything I sacrificed for you. I feel my throat tighten, but not with guilt this time. With rage. You didn't sacrifice for me, I say, and my hands finally stop trembling because the anger holds them steady. You sacrificed me. You let Dad do what he did. You let my brother treat me like a punching bag. You watched me carry everything, and you called it being strong, so you didn't have to protect me. My mom's eyes shine. I did my best, she whispers, and for a second I see her, not as my mother, but as a woman who made choices and now wants forgiveness without accountability. My chest aches because I do have empathy. I do. But empathy doesn't mean I volunteer to be hurt again. My aunt snaps. This is unbelievable. Blood is thicker than. Stop, I say, louder than I mean to, and the word cracks through the room. Everyone goes still. Even my brother shuts his mouth. I inhale, shaking, but I keep going. You know what's funny? You all love that line. You love it because it means you don't have to earn anything. You don't have to be kind. You don't have to change. You can just say blood and expect me to show up. I point at the folder. That's not family. That's obligation. My aunt's eyes are blazing. So you're choosing strangers over us. I nod once because I'm done dancing around it. Yes, I say. I am. Ray's face tightens. Are you serious? I'm choosing people who show up for me without trying to trap me. I say. I'm choosing people who don't call me selfish when I say no. I'm choosing people who don't only remember I exist when they need something. My brother pushes off the doorframe, finally irritated enough to enter the room. You're so dramatic, he says, walking toward the table like he might grab the folder and shove it back at me. It's just paper. Sign it. Help Mom. Then go back to your little perfect life. My stomach flips, but I don't move. No, I say again. He scoffs. You really hate us that much. I don't hate you, I say, and my voice is quieter now, heavier. I just refuse to keep paying for your choices. My mom shakes her head, tears spilling now, and I hate that my body still reacts to her crying like an alarm. So what? She says, voice breaking. You're just going to let us drown? The words dig at me because they're designed to. They're meant to hook me. They're meant to make me jump back into the water to save people who keep pulling me under. I stare at my mom and think about Mina's mom handing me a blanket and saying I was safe. I think about Daniel holding my hand during panic attacks I didn't even know I was allowed to have. I think about the friends who helped us move houses without demanding anything in return. I think about the quiet, steady life I built by saying no 100 times until no became a door instead of a weapon. I take a breath. I'm not letting you drown, I say slowly. I'm refusing to be your life raft while you keep punching holes in it. My aunt looks like she might explode. So what? You think you're some kind of saint because you have friends, she sneers. Friends leave. Friends don't owe you. Family is forever. I almost laugh, because if she could hear herself, forever doesn't mean healthy, I say. And you're right. Friends don't owe me. I lean forward slightly, meeting her eyes. That's why it matters that they choose me anyway. There's a sound from the hallway. Keys in a lock. The front door opens and closes. I didn't even realize I was bracing for someone until I hear Daniel's voice from the entryway. Hey, he calls, then pauses when he sees the scene. His eyes flick to my face, to the folder, to the tension in everyone's bodies. He doesn't ask what's going on out loud. He just steps closer, calm, like he's anchoring the room. Behind him, Mina walks in holding a paper bag that smells like fresh bread. She stops in the doorway, takes one look at my aunt's posture, my mom's tears, my brother's smirk, and her expression goes flat. Oh, Mina says, setting the bag on the counter like she's done this before. It's one of those days. My aunt whips around. Who is that? I don't even hesitate. My family, I say. The silence that follows is thick and sharp. My mom stares at Mina like she's a threat. My brother makes a disgusted sound. Ray looks like he wants to disappear into the floor. Mina's gaze lands on the folder. What are we signing? She asks lightly, but there's steel under it. Nothing, I say. Daniel steps to my side, hand resting on the back of my chair, steady. You all need to leave, he says, voice calm but firm. He doesn't yell. He doesn't posture. He just states it like a boundary. My aunt sputters. Excuse me? This is family business. Daniel doesn't blink. This is our home, he says, and you're not going to corner her in it. My brother's eyes flash. Oh, so she sent her husband to talk for her now. Mina laughs once, short. No, she says. She's talking. You just don't like what she's saying. My mom wipes her face, voice trembling. This is humiliating, she whispers, like she's the one being wronged. You're bringing outsiders into our problems. I look at her and feel the final piece click into place. You brought outsiders into my problems when you let them become my problems, I say. You just called them family, so I couldn't refuse. Ray stands up slowly, palms out. Okay, he says, trying to sound reasonable again. This is getting out of hand. It's been out of hand, I say. For years. My aunt grabs the folder like she owns it, papers rustling loudly. Fine, she snaps. Fine, don't sign, don't help. But don't come crying later when you realize you threw away the only people who truly. Stop, Mina cuts in, voice sharp now. You don't get to threaten her with loneliness when you're the ones asking her to sacrifice herself. My aunt's mouth opens, then closes. She looks at my mom like she expects backup. My mom looks down at her hands. My brother scoffs again, but there's less confidence in it now because the room has changed. It's not just me they can intimidate anymore. The dynamic isn't stacked in their favor. Daniel's voice stays calm. Please leave, he repeats. My aunt points at me one last time, eyes bright with rage. "You'll regret this," she says. "One day you'll need us." I meet her gaze and feel a strange peace settle over me. "I didn't need you," I say quietly. "I needed you when I was a kid, and you weren't there." I nod toward the door. "Goodbye." Ray hesitates, like he might say something softer, something human. But then my aunt snaps his name, and he follows her out like he always does. My brother lingers at the doorway. He looks at me, and for a second I think I'll see something like shame. But he just smirks. "Have fun with your fake family," he says and walks out. My mom is last. She stands by the sink, eyes red, face tight with a grief that might be real or might be pride bruising. "You think you're so strong," she whispers. I swallow. "I am," I say. "But not because you made me. Because I had to save myself." Her mouth trembles, and then she turns and leaves without another word. When the door shuts, the house feels too quiet for a second. My legs go weak like my body waited until it was safe to react. I grip the edge of the table, breathing hard, and Mina is suddenly beside me, hands on my shoulders, warm and solid. "Hey," she says quietly. "You did good." Daniel kneels in front of me, so I have to look at him. "Are you okay?" he asks, and his voice is gentle in a way that makes my eyes burn. I laugh once, shaky. "I don't know," I admit. "I feel sick. And also like I can breathe." Mina reaches for the paper bag she brought and pulls out the bread. Sets it on a plate like this is the most normal next step in the world. "Eat," she orders softly. "Your nervous system is doing cartwheels." I take a piece because my hands need something to do, because grounding matters, because Mina always knows what matters. I chew and my throat tightens anyway. "I hate that they can still do that to me," I whisper. "I hate that my mom crying still makes me feel like I'm a monster." Daniel's thumb brushes my knuckles. "You're not," he says. Mina snorts. "You're not," she repeats. Then her face softens. "But even if you feel like one for a minute, that doesn't mean you did the wrong thing." I sit there for a long time, the three of us in my kitchen, the salt shaker still tilted from my aunt's hand. My phone buzzes once with a family group chat notification I forgot I wasn't fully out of. My aunt already typing some version of the story where I'm ungrateful and brainwashed and cruel. I stare at the screen and feel the old panic rise, the urge to defend myself, to explain, to make them understand. Then I remember something else. They don't want to understand. Understanding would require them to change. So I open the chat. I don't read the messages. I don't argue. I don't justify. I just leave. Mina watches me do it and nods like she's proud. Daniel kisses the top of my head. My chest aches in a way that feels like grief and relief braided together. Later that night, after we've eaten and cleaned up and the adrenaline finally starts to drain, I sit on my couch and stare at the ceiling. I think about that line, "Blood is thicker than water," and how my family used it like a leash. I think about how fast they showed up when they needed something and how absent they were when I needed safety. I think about how Mina's mom didn't share my DNA, but still showed up with a blanket and a quiet, "You're safe." I think about how Daniel chose me every day, not with grand gestures, but with respect, with partnership, with calm. And maybe the quote is messy. Maybe people argue about what it really means. My family certainly doesn't care. They just like the version that keeps me in my place. But I know what it means to me. I know what it feels like when love is chosen instead of demanded. The next morning, Mina texts me from the driveway because she knows I'll spiral if she leaves without saying it one more time. "Proud of you." I step outside with my coffee and watch her car pull away, and the air feels cold and clean. My phone buzzes again, another message from my aunt, this time directly. "They're dead to us." My stomach flips, reflexive fear, old training. Then I look at my house, my quiet, my life, the people who came over not to take but to stand beside me. And I type back one sentence, the only one that matters. "I've been alive without you for a long time." Then I block her. I go back inside, and I do something small that feels huge. I write a note on a sticky pad and put it on the fridge, right where my aunt's folder sat yesterday. It's not for them. It's for me. It just says, "Chosen is real." And for the first time, when the silence settles, it doesn't feel like punishment. It feels like peace.